At least 20 people dead after gunman went on a rampage. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. An intensive manhunt is underway in Maine in the United States after two mass shootings left at least 20 people dead and dozens injured last night, according to multiple law enforcement sources. Lewiston police have identified 40-year-old Robert Card of Bowden as a person of interest, saying he could be considered armed and dangerous. He's still on the run. Law enforcement officials in Maine said Card is a certified firearm instructor and a member of the U.S. Army Reserve. He had recently made threats to carry out a shooting at a National Guard facility in Saco in Maine and also reported mental health issues, including hearing voices, the official said. Maine officials said hundreds of police officers are now working across the state to locate Card. The public was urged to contact law enforcement if they have any information about his whereabouts. Residents are being told to continue sheltering in place. Meanwhile, after being warned several times not to interfere with witnesses or threaten them, Donald Trump did not heed the warning and had to pay $10,000 yesterday. After Trump early Wednesday had apparently spoken about Judge Engoron's law clerk in violation of the Judge Gag order, Judge Engoron briefly paused in the New York civil fraud trial testimony and said he was going to hold a hearing right now on the matter and would call his first witness Donald Trump. This episode, where Trump allegedly violation of a gag order by attacking his perceived opponents, could in theory have led to his imprisonment. And this was a stark reminder of the difficulty he will face navigating his campaign rhetoric with the legal realities and constraint of the courtroom. Trump had already been fined $5,000 last week because his post hadn't been taken down from his website, something his lawyer said was inadvertent, and warned there would be more severe penalties for additional violations, even threatening imprisonment. He was fined an additional $10,000. Still in the U.S., Mike Johnson has been elected Speaker of the House of Representatives, ending weeks of chaos and Republican infighting on Capitol Hill. The conservative-led Louisiana lawman won with 220 votes in the lower house of Congress. Johnson is the fourth Republican nominated for the position since Kevin McCarthy ousted on October 3rd. And he's a Trump supporter and an election denier who supported the attack of terrorists on the U.S. Capitol. He voted against President Biden to be voted into power. He is in the Senate now for 6 years and has voted against almost everything progressive that the Democrats have put forward. The previous nominee, Minnesota Tom Emmer, abruptly dropped out of the race Tuesday after only 4 hours of wrangling. Meanwhile, members of the Jamaica Parliament, in a show of bipartisan solidarity with the Cuban people yesterday, again urged the American government to end the decades-long economic embargo against the communist country. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Orlando Terrelong, who opened the debate on the resolution, characterized the policy as cruel and devastating in many aspects. The United States economic embargo was imposed on Cuba by President John F. Kennedy after the failure of the Bay of Pigs invasion against the then young administration of Fidel Castro in 1962. In 2016, U.S. President Barack Obama visited Cuba and eased some of the worst effects of the embargo, but the subsequent administration of Donald Trump reimposed many of those measures. Over in Jamaica, heavy rain since Tuesday has resulted in blocked roads and flooding in two eastern parishes. Residents of Mount Vernon Gap in St. Thomas are marooned as the main road has been rendered impassable due to a landslide. A team from the National Works Agency had been mobilized to clear the road. Residents of Claverty Cottage in Portland said that their access road has also been blocked by large boulders from landslides, and in addition, springs have overflowed onto the road, resulting in flooding. The system is expected to remain across the island through today. Matthew Hyde, the University of the West Indies Mona student who is accused of torturing his ex-girlfriend in his dorm room, has been further remanded until February 12th of next year. He was again remanded when the case was mentioned before the St. Andrew Parish Court yesterday. Hyde is represented by attorney Patrick Peterking and Jenna MacDonald. He is charged with assault occasioning grievous bodily harm, use of malicious communications, assaulting occasioning actual bodily harm, and false imprisonment. And Hyde is alleged to have held his ex-girlfriend captive for 3 days in his dorm room in February. And it is so funny how the judge them make weird decisions. This brother held his girlfriend hostage for 3 days, beat her up, and is now in jail for almost a year. But the gunmen who killed several people and held with illegal firearms, they all get bail within weeks and then come out and kill some more. And I can tell you that the justice in Jamaica is a joke. Jury selection is to commence on Monday in the case of three members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force who are charged with a 2016 execution-style killing of a wanted fugitive in West Kingston. The trial was delayed yesterday before the Home Circuit Court following a request from the prosecutors. Constable Ramon Scott, Dwayne Kelly James, and Gregory South are to stand trial for the shooting death of Jamar Walford, otherwise called Shaba, a resident of Bond Street in West Kingston. Scott is to stand trial for murder, while Kelly James and South are facing charges of wounding with intent. And it was reported that on May 27 of 2016, the cops went in search of Walford, who was wanted for questioning in connection with several murders. It's alleged that the cops captured Walford, removed him from his home on Bond Street, and took him to a nearby location where he was fatally shot. They reported that they seized a pistol and an AK-47 rifle in that operation. Kelly James and South are on bail, while Constable Scott, who is facing another murder charge, remains behind bars. Onto sports, Jamaica's qualification for the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup got off to a losing start after they gave up the lead and were beaten 2-1 by Panama in their qualifying games played at Ramon Fernandez Stadium in Panama last night. And this is just a pickup team of young, inexperienced players that the JFF fling together after the main squad refused to play due to the JFF robbing the players. On to the Costa Cup. Taki High qualified for the quarterfinals of the Da Costa Cup football competition for the first time in the St. Mary's School history after they beat Cedric Titus 4-2 in their second round return leg game, which was played at Droxall yesterday. William Dib Memorial High edged Central High 1-0 in their game, which was played at Glenmore. Magrat High knockout Edwin Allen after winning 3-1 on Wednesday for a 4-1 aggregate, while Port Antonio High advanced ahead of Mannings on a tiebreaker after they finished tied 2-2. Mannings won Wednesday's game, which is yesterday, beating them 2-1, but because Port Antonio had won 1-0 the first game, the game ended 2-2. This resulted in a tiebreaker, and Port Antonio will move on. How they come by this? Unbelievable. This makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, results from yesterday's game, we have Mile Gully beating Bel Air 2-1. Actually, Happy Grove and Orchard split to a 2-2 draw. Dinthill were 7-0 winners over Horace Clark. Taki High beating Cedric Titus 4-2. Magrat beat Edwin Allen 3-1. Clarendon College beat the Cartridge College 4-1. William Nib were 1-0 winners over Central High. Garvey Masio beat St. Mary High 9-0. Black River beat Cornwall College 1-0, while Frome Technical beat Vere Technical 4-0, while Manchester beat Monroe College 2-1. Rossies High and Christiana played to a 0-all draw, but Christiana will move on because they won 3-0 the first game, and there will be 8 games today in the Manning Cup, and we will give you all those scores tomorrow. And that's going to be news and sports on your favorite community radio. My name is Mikey Bones. I gone.